The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the dusty streets of Hollow Creek. Horses whinnied in the distance, their hooves echoing off the wooden buildings. Inside the sheriff's office, the metal bars of the single holding cell gleamed faintly in the dim light. And there sat Jacob Turner, his cheek swollen and blooded, his spirit bruised but unbroken. It hadn't always been like this. Just weeks ago, Jacob had been a newcomer to the quiet town, a drifter with calloused hands and honest eyes. He'd arrived looking for work, and quickly found it on Charles Morgan's ranch, the largest in the county. Charles, a stern and imposing man with a silver beard and a reputation for unwavering authority, ran his ranch and household with an iron grip. Jacob never expected to meet Evelyn. Evelyn Morgan was the only daughter of Charles, a young woman of grace and intelligence, her beauty understated beneath her simple dresses and pinned hair. But it was her spirit that captivated Jacob. She was curious, kind-hearted, and brave, yearning for a life beyond the rigid expectations of her father. Their paths crossed when Jacob was tasked with mending the fence near the family's homestead. Days turned into weeks, and the brief exchanges between Jacob and Evelyn grew into secret conversations, stolen glances, and eventually, a love neither could deny. But love in Hollow Creek wasn't simple, especially when it defied the will of Charles Morgan. Charles had other plans for Evelyn, a marriage to Thomas Grady, the wealthy son of a neighboring landowner. It was an arrangement that would solidify the Morgan social standing and ensure their influence in the region. To Charles, Jacob was an interloper, a man of no consequence. The confrontation came swiftly. It happened on a warm summer evening. Word had reached Charles of his daughter's clandestine meetings with Jacob. Enraged, he stormed into the town's main street where he found Jacob and Evelyn talking outside the general store. Without warning, Charles struck Jacob, his fist landing squarely on Jacob's jaw. The younger man staggered but refused to retaliate, unwilling to fight in front of Evelyn. "Stay away from my daughter," Charles thundered. Evelyn's voice rang out, trembling but fierce. "Father, I love him. And if you try to keep us apart, I will leave this town." Her words silenced the onlookers, drawing a gasp from the crowd. But Charles was unmoved. In a desperate attempt to assert his dominance, he called upon the sheriff, an old ally of his, to arrest Jacob on fabricated charges of disorderly conduct. And so Jacob was dragged away, locked in the cold, iron-barred cell. But the story didn't end there. That night, Evelyn paced her room, her heart aching. Her father's wrath could not deter her feelings. With determination burning in her chest, she penned letters to her closest friends, calling for their support. Among them was Sarah, a sharp-witted young woman who worked at the local printing press. By dawn, the town was buzzing. Sarah had printed dozens of flyers detailing the injustice against Jacob and the heavy-handedness of Charles Morgan. The townsfolk, many of whom had grown weary of Charles' arrogance, began to whisper, then to speak openly. By midday, a crowd had gathered outside the sheriff's office. Evelyn stood at the front, her voice clear and unwavering. "Jacob Turner is innocent. He is a good man, punished only for loving me. If my father believes he can silence us, he is wrong." Her courage inspired others. Neighbors, ranch hands, and merchants joined the protest. The sheriff, feeling the weight of public opinion, hesitated. He knew the charges against Jacob wouldn't hold up if brought before a judge. Meanwhile, in his study, Charles watched from the window. His pride battled with the growing realization that he was losing not only the town's respect but his daughter's love. It was Mrs. Morgan, Evelyn's late mother's sister, who finally confronted him. "Charles," she said, her voice soft but firm, "you cannot cage love. You risk losing Evelyn forever." Charles was a stubborn man, but he was not blind. That night, under the weight of reflection and the urging of those closest to him, he relented. By morning, Jacob was released. The sheriff, gruff but fair, muttered, "No charges. You're free to go." As Jacob stepped out into the bright sunlight, Evelyn ran to him, tears streaming down her cheeks. In that moment, amidst the cheers of the crowd, a bond was sealed stronger than any chain. Charles approached, his face lined with fatigue and regret. "You have my blessing," he said quietly, though the words seemed to cost him. Jacob extended his hand. After a long pause, Charles took it. In the weeks that followed, Hollow Creek saw change. The Morgans' grip on the town loosened, and a new respect for love and freedom took root. Evelyn and Jacob married under the wide, open sky, surrounded by friends and well-wishers. Their story became legend, a tale of defiance, love, and courage. And long after the dust of Hollow Creek had settled, folks would gather and tell the story of how one young woman stood against her father's wrath and changed the course of many lives. If you enjoyed this powerful tale of love and defiance, be sure to subscribe to the Wild West Love Stories for more heart-stirring legends from the old frontier. Hit that like button, share the story, and join us next time for another unforgettable journey into the heart of the Wild West.